Okay, I think
Just kidding.
we got this right.
You want to know sequence and show them.
I am sorry.
Just have to wear a leotard.
So, well, don't let me shut the conversation. Gosh.
Well, our costumer was like,
We could
I see
also
you
do
in cancer.
Don't you
No
mind?
pants with the leotard.
Yeah,
I'm not doing
but
that.
just those
I'm not wearing that.
generally.
It gives like a little bit of a
It's
nice vibe of like
amazing, right?
Yeah,
I
did that when I was
Okay, we're back. So, let's talk. What is a formant? What is a formant?
A resonance of the vocal tract.
A resonance of the vocal tract. Yes. A resonance of the vocal tract. And so, what generates harmonics? What generates harmonics? So, you know, if I played the piano,
The vocal folds.
all those notes are there. What generates harmonics?
I have vocal folds written.
Yes. So the sound source, your vocal folds, are the thing that generate the harmonics. All right? And so then formants are associated with what?
How they're shaped.
How or what are shaped?
How you are shaped.
How you are shaped. Your resonance cavities, okay? So the area above your vocal folds, that laryngopharynx and your oropharynx, sometimes your nasopharynx, the oral cavity. So that changeable stuff that we have, okay, that's what formants are associated with, because they are literally the resonances of those shapes. And since we can change those shapes, we have the ability to move our formants around, which is what gives us the ability to speak, sing different vowels, you know, all these things. This weekend I was over in Arizona at a conference, and just some amazing, cool stuff. The conference was a bunch of nerds like me, basically. Singing teachers and speech pathologists and voice researchers, and anyway, so we were all together, and there are I got a new voice simulation software that I need to learn how to use it first. But I might incorporate it. I mean, you can do all sorts of cool things. You can show the vocal folds vibrating, and you can do all sorts of modeling of, you know, the vocal tract and stuff. It's really, really cool. Okay, so who could write the harmonic series of that note? Okay.
I might be able to.
Come on up.
Don't laugh at me. I get it wrong.
Curious, are we gonna have to do this on the test?
Yes.
Okay.
You do need to know the harmonic series up through like the 8th harmonic.
I just need to review how to do it. I figured out a really good way in psychology.
You're KC,
You're
yeah.
going. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got
And then it's fours.
You can use the treble clef now.
Oh.
Yeah. Go ahead and use the treble clef.
And then it's a fourth. And then it's a major third. And then it's a minor third, right?
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
Yes. Let me get you back on
Did I
track.
miss something? Sorry, I've had too much coffee today.
Octave, fifth,
Fifth,
fourth,
fourth.
and then go on. Yeah, that's right.
Is that right?
The A is right.
Okay, fourth, and then a third,
What kind of third?
major,
Major third.
and then a minor third.
Yeah, and if that's a major third, then what do you need in front of that C? If that's a major third, you need a shop. Yes.
And then a minor third, and then
Yeah.
it's an out of tune minor third, right?
Yes, ma'am. So the G, and then
it's a second.
the A. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That was beautiful.
So you need to know the harmonic series that far. Okay, so octave, fifth, fourth, major third, minor third, flat minor third, and second. Okay? Because that's generally about as far up as you need to know in terms of what we're trying to get lined up with a vowel, either the first or second formant. again, if we change the fundamental, so if it was this E, then it would still be that same pattern of octave, fifth, fourth, and so on. It would just be starting here, okay? And even though musically, you know, the intervals are, you know, octave, fifth, fourth, third, you know, the intervals are getting musically smaller and smaller and smaller. In terms of the frequency, they're the same, okay? So this is 110. That's 220, that's 330, that's 440, that's 550, 660, 770, 880. Okay? So even though musical intervals are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, the frequency number is the same. Cool? Okay. Groovy, groovy, groovy. Now, another thing to remember, I'm going to leave that there, and we're just not going to worry about that for now. Spotlight on me. So, our first formant, so, you know, we have multiple formants. There are multiple resonances associated with our vocal tract because, if you think about it, we have this big old tongue in there, right? Okay, and so our tongue is in there, and there's basically an area behind the hump of our tongue, and there's an area in front of the hump of our tongue, okay? And we're able to, you know, round our lips and spread our lips. We're able to do all sorts of things to raise our palate, lower our palate. So it only makes sense that we wouldn't have like one formant. We might have we have lots of formants. I mean, I've heard people talking about up to 10. Up to 10. So we generally concern ourselves when we're talking about singing with the first 5. You guys really need to understand the first 2 to talk about vowels. So if we're talking about the first formant, you remember that was me thumping on my neck. Let me see if I can do it. Wind up. Want to try that? I mean, you got to hit yourself pretty hard. If you don't want to, because I know you've kind of gotten your neck banged around lately. So you have to kind of, you know, you can hit just north of your larynx, basically. Oops.
I hear it. I don't like it.
That was a really good one.
That was.
Okay. You can also do it, although this really hurts.
Oh, don't.
You can hit your teeth. But anyway, thumping, you're basically just sending a little impulse of sound through. And anyway, so your first formant frequencies as we go from the most closed front vowel to the most closed back vowel kind of do like that. Okay, while our second formant, that's the thing I was showing by whispering. So they do basically kind of that. So the thing that our brain really uses to distinguish, oh, that's a front vowel, an E or an A or an E or one of, is that those formants are far apart. While the thing that our brain uses to, oh, that's one of those more rounded vowels, more, you know, the back vowels, is that the formants are, those first 2 formants are close together. I mean, that's really kind of how our brain parses it out. Okay, so take your handout from the other day, and if you flip over to the back of the first page, you should see a chart that looks like this. I would like to ask that you familiarize yourself with this because on Wednesday we are going to play Pin the Formant on the chart.
That's so cute.
Pin the bubble on the F1, F2 chart to be precise. And I even have a mask. I was going to do it today, and then I thought we probably wouldn't have time. So we'll do it on Wednesday. So you have something to look forward to. On Wednesday, we'll do that, and it'll be fun. And we'll kind of, play, with the blindfold and stuff, and then of course we'll have to put them in the right spot. That's where the learning will occur, we hope. So, just familiarize yourself with this, because we're gonna play around with that on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, I'm gonna bring in some recordings, because we need to do some ear training. We need to go, okay, we know what the written vowel is in the text, but what vowel is that soprano or tenor or baritone really singing? So that you really start hearing what are they doing modification-wise. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be E, but she's definitely not singing E. What vowel is that? Because as a teacher, it's so, so, so important that you can really hone in on, no, you're singing A and we need to sing E. Those real fine things, especially when you've got somebody who's really, really good and putting out a ton of sound. That subtle difference between, okay, that sounds like and you need more those little shadings and things, okay? So we're going to spend some time doing that. And then the final part of the talking about modification and formants is I have some examples for music, and then knowing what we're kind of learning here today, and spending some time on Wednesday, how do we then apply that? How do we look at a piece of music and, okay, here's a singer who's got to sing this vowel on this note. What do we tell them? What would we suggest to them? Okay? So we're kind of learning the theory part now, and then we're going to do the oral part, and then we're going to do the, okay, what would I tell a singer to do? Okay? So if you've got that handout, and you look at this thing, and you're saying, well, what the heck? Put it on the document camera, but you all have it. So you've got, these are the first formant frequencies down here, and then the second formant, so they plotted the vowels, okay? So the little circle there for the oo means then that the first formant of oo is really low, and the second formant is low. But if you look where E is, it's got a low first formant and a high second formant. You see how the graph kind of works? And then the reason why they have little bubbles is, as we were talking about, a formant isn't just that note, but it's actually kind of an area, and the center frequency we might be able to put a number on, put a note to, but it's actually kind of a band of areas where that vowel would work, okay? So, and you might notice also, looking at the bottom, that when our mouth is more closed and our lips are more rounded, first formant's low. When our mouth is more open and our lips are more spread, first formant's high. I think I wrote that on there, yeah. And then looking at your second formants, when your tongue is more towards the back of your mouth, your first formant's low, second formant's low. When your tongue is more towards the front of your mouth, second formant's high. So think about that in terms of, just play around with your tongue. Well, if you're doing an E, everybody get your mouth, for an E. E, 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 okay? So if your tongue is very far forward like that, the space in front of the hump of your tongue is really small. So a small space is going to have a high frequency associated with it, right? Remember the smaller vowels versus the bigger vowels, okay? But then, so second formant is that stuff in front of the hump of your tongue. While the space behind the hump of your tongue, and I mean this is a simplification, but the space behind the hump of your tongue is big, right? Because your tongue is all forward. You remember when we went to the voice clinic and they were doing the exam on me, when I did E is where my tongue is far forward, you could really see my vocal folds. So then the space in the back is big on an E. And so first formant's low, second formant's high. Does that make sense? Okay. And so on. So you can look at all your different vowels there and think, okay, well, the ones where your tongue is not so far forward, but it's not too far back, and your mouth is not too open and it's not too closed, like and would be in the middle, right? Because it's going to be kind of that middle of the road where neither formant is too high or too low. Now we can see that, I can show you that stuff on the computer. And I brought my computer and I brought the software, yay! Okay. And I need the screen down too, don't I? This would look a whole lot better if I did that. Cha-cha. Yeah. Can you guys imagine what I would be like with caffeine? just think about that. And if I got 8 hours of sleep every night, that's really scary. My family would be afraid. Okay, so I'm going to do some fry, because as you may be noticing, I'm a bit under the weather vocally today. Got my sexy voice on. Spinning the tunes till 3 a.m. Okay, so if I'm going to do some fry, and watch what happens. The first formant will be the first peak you see in the fry. I'm going to go from oo to ah, okay? Right, so here's my oo. You can see, okay, well, that's a really good spot. Okay, so there's a nice big peak there around 330 or something. Then I went, so now my mouth is a little more open, right? And now it's up about, 120 hertz. Now here is aw, and it's even higher. And now here's ah, and it's even higher. So I'll do that again. So I'm going from more rounded and more closed to more open and less rounded. And you may be saying, as colleagues of mine have said in the past, so? The so of this is, then if you know that as you go, that those formants go up in frequency, then you know if I need to sing a higher note, but it's got to resemble that vowel, this is the closest vowel that's going to resemble that I could sing on that note. Does that make sense? So if I want to sing something that resembles an oo, but I got to sing it up above where oo works, I need to stay in the same family of vowels, but I need to find the one in that family of vowels, whether it's oo or o or r, that is going to have some of those characteristics, and yet it's going to work on the note I'm trying to sing. So it really helps you fine tune what you're doing modification-wise, rather than kind of,
So you'd be matching up the hertz?
You're trying to match up, yeah, you're trying to match up for, and this is really the case, especially for women, when you guys are ascending in pitch, you get past a certain point, you're trying to get the frequency you're singing, that fundamental, and that vowel formant very close to each other. We're going to have one of you guys probably up to do that here in just a bit. Okay, now I'm going to do some stuff, mouth opening and mouth closed, how that changes things. Oh, come on, play. Okay, so I can do the same thing on front vowels, and I'm going to be going from E, where your mouth is really closed, to A, where your mouth is more open. And watch what happens to, again, that first formant. So you can see, here is E. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. E, I think I did A, and A. And we're watching this peak is the one moving. And then I did A, and it's actually up. That's not a good example. Let me try doing that again so it's clearer. I get to sing a low note. Okay. You can see which harmonic was the strong one.
Yeah.
Was shifting. Okay, so as my mouth goes more open, those foreign frequencies are going up. Now, tongue movement is what really changes our second formant. If you remember the thing where it was kind of heading down. So I'm going to go E, A, O, O. I'm going to do the whole kind of series. Okay, here we go. Big breath. So now we're looking at the second form. So it's the second, that thing out there, okay? Okay, I'll do that again. So as soon as you go from a front vowel, even a to ah, I mean, that's a huge change in that second formant. And that's the cool thing, ladies, when you're up really, really, really high, you know, like you're singing a B flat or something, and you had a word like, I don't know, let's think of an ah word, like father, you know, like you've got to say, okay, how about the Italian word, my, and you're up really high, okay, and you can't go E up there because then it's going to sound all teeny-weeny, right? So you can go ma, and it sounds like that because our brain hears, whoa, the second formant just went. Anybody warmed up enough to sing like really high? Anybody?
Maybe.
Maybe? I mean like B flat?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's a solid maybe.
Okay, so what we're going to be watching for, so I'll just mouth it. I mean, she's going to go in ma, and we'll probably just see one harmonic shift. Okay. Oh, stay there.
Yeah,
So you're going to go ma. Okay, let me hold this.
Okay.
You need it to not be so close, okay? So my, yeah. All right. We freeze this and we can talk about it. Okay, so here she's doing ma, and you notice the second harmonic is not terribly strong. Then she went to
Oh.
ping.
Hey.
That's what you heard. That's what you heard. So, yeah, science is cool. Okay, so when she went from the ah to the ah, suddenly that second harmonic jumped up, and that's we hear that little extra brilliance or kind of cut to the sound. Okay, that's what you're hearing. Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
Can you show the first one again?
Yeah.
Compared to the second.
Okay, so here she's doing the ah, and notice where this is, okay? So here's ah, and then it jumps up about 10 decibels. Because here's her ah, and you can see it's like in the vicinity of that little dot. Then when she goes to the ah, You see it jumped up, and that's like 10 decibels difference. Yeah, and this one actually probably went down a little bit. So we're constantly doing these things to get A, our text across most intelligibly, and B, to get the most bang for the buck. You know, and it's not like what you've been doing is wrong. This is just explaining what you've been doing, and it gives you another way, maybe I think, to get at things possibly faster if you know what vowel to suggest to someone. And it's one of the great things is that me as a man, you know, I can't sing a high B flat like that. I can't demonstrate it for somebody. But I know what vowel to tell them to sing. And I can say, okay, instead of doing, you know, ma, try ma, you know, I can still model it and say, so we're singing more a than e. So I know what vowel to tell someone. So I can teach somebody of another gender who can sing notes I can't sing. All right. Let's go ahead and flip to the next page, which has some stuff. So, in general, guys are trying to get a harmonic above the fundamental to be the strong thing, okay? To have a quintessentially guy sound. So if I'm, you'll notice that the fundamental, is typically not the strong thing. You know, something above the fundamental is the strong thing. While women, and that applies even if a guy is singing high, because that is what we kind of identify brain-wise as a male sound, okay? And so you could think of female belt is really a way to kind of have a more, forgive me, masculine sound higher, because in belt, the fundamental is not the strong thing. It's, you're carrying that same spectrum where something other than the fundamental is the strong thing, higher than a woman normally would. And for guys, when guys belt, they do some of the things that a classical singer would do. Anyway, so again, for guys, no matter where we are singing in our range, if you're singing classically, and even if you're doing belt, the typical guy thing is to have something other than the fundamental, the first harmonic there, as the strong thing. That gives the sound, you know, kind of that richness or whatever that we typically associate with male voices. Now, if you've got a countertenor, however, countertenors, when they get higher in their range, tend to be much more, they're acoustically doing very much the same thing as a woman is doing. Now, a woman, when she sings higher in her range, now when you're singing low in your range, you would look just like this too, okay? But you get higher in your range, a woman wants to have the fundamental be the strongest thing. If you remember when Melissa was singing just a few moments ago, the first harmonic, that fundamental, was the strongest thing on there, okay? And so that's a real big gender difference between males and females when we sing. So guys want to have something other than the fundamental be strong. Women, when you sing higher in your range, do want to have the fundamental to be the strong thing. And so we're going to use different strategies, modification-wise. Okay? And so the strategies that I might use, or Austin might use, to sing a high note, and again, our high notes are an octave lower than your high notes, is going to be very different. Because we're not trying to have the fundamental be the strong thing. So we're obviously going to use a different strategy than you guys are. So we don't modify the same way at all. we're not singing the same notes for sure. Okay. The singer's formant. You ever heard of that? You certainly probably read about it. Okay, so it's that brilliant ring that seems to be there no matter what vowel or word or whatever the person is singing. My guess, Austin, is that you have a pretty good one. That was me just piddling around, and you can see that I have this bump out here, okay, and that's around 3,000 hertz. And I wasn't trying to, but I've just kind of learned that coordination, and I bet we can get you up here in a minute and sing something. We're gonna see a big hump in your, forgive me, spectrum out there. And it's because, I would imagine, your larynx sits fairly low when you sing. And also your vocal folds close pretty firmly when you sing. You gotta kind of have those two things. Or at the very least, if you don't have your larynx low, at least, you remember when we went to the clinic and they were looking down, you know, and my epiglottis was here and then my vocal folds are down there. You either have to have your larynx sitting low and your pharynx kind of, you know, relaxed and open, or that area right above the vocal folds needs to be narrow. One of the two, okay, to get that ring. And the cool thing about that ring is it's right around the same frequency of our ear canal. So if you take your finger and you push in there, you know, from the outer part of your ear down to your eardrum, has that same resonance frequency. There's probably a good reason why, because when people cry in pain and babies call out and all those kind of things, it's really high frequency. And so there's a real good survival reason that we're really attuned to frequencies in that area. And our auditory system is more sensitive, around 2,000 to 4,000 hertz. Our ear canal is that same resonance frequency, and so it's going to kind of amplify or magnify frequencies in that range. And singers have, over time, you know, we didn't know any of the science of this in the last 400 years when classical singing has really been developing, but people knew, wow, your voice really jumps out when you do that. Can you do that again? You know, and we've learned the coordination to do that. Okay, you gotta have a good kind of ringing, firm sound, and you gotta be shaped in a certain way. And it's male singers and low range of mezzos is where you see that, because as you get a little higher in range, you're just not going to have your larynx that low to get that right shape. So anyway, Austin,
Yes, sir.
you want to try it? I mean, it doesn't matter the vowel. I mean, just give yourself like one of your meaty good notes in your range.
What's thinking?
Okay.
I feel like your best range is lower, isn't it?
It's fairly high baritone. It's fairly high. Okay. And this is probably plenty close. You just let her rip, man. Yeah, if you notice, I mean, he's not singing out real loud, but you notice there's a big bump out here. Okay? Okay? Okay, go ahead like you were singing the Handel in the practice room a little while ago. Let's do this. I got an even better way to show this. I'm going to do something magical. Going to need to reset. I've been rereading the Harry Potter books, and I'm having a Dumbledore moment, you know. Here we go. I'm going to change this so that you could sing like about 10 seconds. We're just going to let it run. Okay? You just go. Just sing. that's his third formant, and that's his fourth formant, and he's got them clustered close together, and that's the ring you hear in his voice. And it's there regardless of what pitch, and if you were singing different vowels, it wouldn't matter. It would still be there because your larynx is comfortably low enough and your vocal folds are closing firmly enough to generate strong harmonics up in that range.
So you said that when women belt, ideally you're trying to make
More of a male
sound. So have you ever recorded a belter and seen if it does the same
I do
thing?
have some recording of some belting, but belt in women is actually your larynx tends to go up rather than stay down. Yeah.
So does it still do the same?
No, that actually is what you're trying to do because you're trying to raise the first formant of the vowel to stay in line with your second harmonic. That's what a woman belter does.
Oh.
And so you actually let your larynx go up. If you watch somebody who's a really good belter, their larynx will go up as they sing really high.
So what about if you belt in your head voice or your chest? Does it make a difference?
Well, I mean,
Performance?
one's the faux belt and one is the mix, you know,
Yeah.
and one is a real belt. Let's talk about that when we talk about registers
Okay.
and other stuff. Thank you, okay? That was really handy. So what I had it doing was I was having an average over the whole period of time he was singing, and that really helped kind of bring that peak out, okay? So it was there, and you can see it. It's this kind of glowing spot.
Yeah.
There the whole time. And it didn't matter what pitch he was singing, you know, he was just doing but it came through, okay? And so that's an added bonus for male singers and for mezzos and contraltos. Sopranos typically, because you're gonna carry well anyway because A, our ears are more sensitive up high, and B, again, you can't have your larynx sitting quite that low to get that right space.
What if you can sometimes sing like a tenor?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can hear the current thing. Yeah. Okay, we have but just a few minutes. So, Melissa, would you mind demonstrating something again?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I need to get out of there. Sorry. Because what I'm going to have her do is this is like watching what happens as she modifies. Good. Okay. So I'm going to have you down low. You can kind of hold that about arm's length. Okay. Well, yeah, maybe a little closer. Okay. On an E vowel. Yeah. Ready? Okay. Okay, stay here. You're good. All right, so you notice, well, yeah, you have that. Okay. Now, because she's on a closed enough vowel, her fundamental is staying the strong thing all the way. She's on an E vowel, okay? And it's like, zing, standing up. Now, you already were doing just a little bit of adjusting, okay? Now I'm going to have her do the next octave, okay? And we're going to see the same. Okay, so now she's going to go from G above middle C to the octave above. And she's going to just, I'm betting, we're going to see that fundamental be the strong thing all the way up. That's my bet. Let's see if I win. Okay, go for it. Yes. Now, by the time she got to the top, was that an E? No, not really. Not really. Now you could say, well, it's an E, but she just made more space. Well, then it isn't an E, is it? Because it's not the same space. You know, she's probably singing by the time you get to the top. Do it again. We're not gonna do anything with this. Just sing again. Close your eyes and just listen to the vowel. Don't think that, okay, she's singing an E. Just listen to the shaping of the vowel as it changes. Same thing. I'm kind of hearing by making some subtle changes there, she's changing the vowel she's singing to match the pitch she's singing. And that's what modification up high for women is all about, right? Okay? Now let's try, let's do ah. Okay, so we're gonna do ah, excuse me. Okay, so now we're doing ah. Okay, and stop there. For reasons. Okay, so you'll notice, just like me singing ah, the fundamental's not the strong thing, is it? Not yet, at least. It will be. But that third one, by the time she gets to there, is really strong. All right, now we're going to have you go the next octave and going up, okay? Perfect. That was so classic, okay? Here she is. Second one is strong. That's like a D. And then somewhere right in the second one, and then they're kind of about equal. And then by the time you went to the very top, the first one is the dominant one. Okay, so even on an ah, eventually you get to the point where you got to get that first harmonic lined up. Okay, so it's going to be the dominant thing. And in fact, thank you. You may sit. In fact, that's kind of the bellwether of you going from middle voice to head voice. We hear, you know, there's a subtle transition where instead of sounding like ah, it started to sound like okay? And that's generally, you know, for most women, probably E-ish, you know, well, sopranos, probably E, you know, some people E flat, some people E, some people maybe F, just depends on the tessiture of your voice. But where suddenly we hear that vowel color shift, and that's the same place where we hear suddenly the first harmonic is the dominant thing. Okay, and so that's kind of the bellwether of you're in head rather than in middle, if you want to use those terms. Okay? All right, we're going to need to stop for now. Wednesday, we will pick up and we will do some listening with some singers. And thank you, those who demonstrated today. And we'll do some listening of some famous singers and play the What Vowel Is That? And we'll also I've got Mirela Franey and UC Bierling, and yes, I do have Joan Sullivan.
Because that's all you can play with her.
Can we do comments too?
What vowel is
Can we do
that?
comments too?
Oh, God.
She's maybe not the best example.
We have a lot of kids that, you know, they all like.
The first harmonic, this is the second harmonic, okay?
So the second harmonic is when you start.
Right, and then we get to a certain point about here, and it should say, the first one is the dominant. And so the bulk of her power that we're using is now in that one harmonic.
What is that steep drop?
What drop?
That thing that just goes.
Oh, that's just a little blip of the software.
Oh, okay.
That's nothing. I wrote you back.
Thanks, all. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
You, I mean, to go and get a general evaluation, that's what you're calling about. I mean, Dr. Simpson could do it, Dr. Dominguez could do it. The speech pathologists will probably be involved, and they will probably actually be doing the scoping and stuff. And then he will review it, or she will review it. So, you know, and then they will call them in to talk to you briefly, probably. But the speech pathologist psychologist will be doing most of the evaluation.
Oh, I
If
see.
you go
Okay.
to get, yeah, because they're gonna have you do a bunch of different things.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said to bring my insurance card and
Yeah,
whatnot.
well, you need it to call, when you call, because they're gonna ask for it.
Okay, and I don't have insurance, so, I mean, that's fine, right? I just pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Steep, I know, but
I mean, it could be $1,000.
yeah.
It might be less than that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it could be up to that. Now, they may have a cash price which is different, you know, that might be lower,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, okay.
So if you're gonna call, for sure, let me know, and then I can email them ahead of time and say, you're gonna be hearing from, and I'll copy Mrs. Petchke on the note.
Okay.
Have you
thank
talked with her about,
Not yet, I haven't.
Yeah,
I
talk
just,
with
this
her.
weekend I decided it really is time, I really need to have a,
talk to her on Tuesday when you see her, and
Okay.
just get her in the loop,
okay.
so she doesn't go, what's this note I
What's
hear?"
this email? What's
Yeah.
happening? Okay.
Yeah,